So it's been a while since I've uploaded. It's been like 8 months since I made that one Gorilla Tag video about the new Clouds map. And since then I've come to realize that Gorilla Tag sucks now and it kind of fell off. I don't really like that game anymore. Anyway, today I'm going to be showing you a bit of a showcase of this new door I made and also how to build it and a bit of an explanation. This door right here is Observerless 5x5. It is only 5 wide. Which is kind of crazy because this 5x5 that uses observers is the same size. And this one uses no observers. And I built this one with John Mew. It's 765 blocks, the same size as this one. And yeah, this is how it works. Actually not too slow. It's actually pretty fast, especially the top. The top is very speedy. So I'm pretty happy with it. So basically, how this all came about was about a week ago now. I was sort of getting sick of building that 7x7 down there. And I was like, I've never really done Observerless before, so I want to try and do some Observerless. And I kind of just ended up making this little thing because I knew a few little tricks like this little input connection and this little starting thing for the quad, and that helped a lot. However, I kind of gave up on this design, and then I moved over here and I started building this one, which was it's quite large, as you can tell. However, this is like the second day of building this, so I'm not very knowledgeable at this point on Observerless. So I use something like this, where if you input a 4-tick into it, if you get a comparator like that with a 4-tick, and the dust here, of course, then you get 2 very quick pulses, just like that, which are quick enough, which it does that. So I used that a little bit in this first try, I guess. But this ended up not even working. Even with all this space and wiring, it still didn't end up working. And so then, John Mew came along. And so this is on his plot. And so we started working on another design. And he suggested that we do it refileless with no storage. And I remember this little burnout setup from a door somewhere, and it works really well. That's very loud. I'm going to turn down my game sounds a bit. Anyway, it fully extends it after just one update to that torch, and the only thing that we needed to figure out was how to get that, which is pretty difficult. Anyway, if you do that again, it fully retracts. He suggested that we do like a tape that pushes in 3 redstone blocks. However, that would still be quite hard to do. So we kind of scrapped that idea, and then we moved on to the generic sort of 5x5 layout. And we were both kind of working on it, and we came up with this little thing, which I don't think it does the whole thing. It might. I'll just show the quad. Probably. The closing's so simple that it probably doesn't even need to be shown. Yeah, I thought it worked, but apparently not. So we were just kind of messing around. We were testing some things out, especially for those last little really quick double pulses. And yeah, eventually, because at this point it's been like 3 days since I've seen him online, I was kind of just working on it, and then I came up with this quad design, which actually is pretty small and it doesn't use up that much space. So as you can see here, that's the whole quad. So I came up with that, and then I was like, well, how do I get the extra moves? Because there's not much space here at all to fit a toggle in here, power this line, and then input this repeater, which goes through the storage, powers up here, pushes them down again, and then powers this piston to refire the quad. That's not much space to do that in. And now that I'm looking at it now, it's kind of, I didn't really use any of this space over here, which means it would be super hard even to just get these side pistons to power. So there's really no way of doing that. And another fatal flaw of this design, this comparator is sitting on the block that gets pushed by the piston. Like that. So if this was here, and the side pistons were to go, that breaks. So I kind of had to scrap that design. Anyway, so back on my plot, I decided to build the quad and start working on it here. Now insert underscore cringe helped me with the extra moves. So they suggested that I move this thing sort of one block out, and then I could transfer the cauldron thingy here over to here with a hopper dropper. And now I've got space for the refire, which uses this little toggle thing. And then that was very easy because I could just get an output down here and that would track the blocks up. And then just have a thing over here with some delay and then a monostable to one tick that. And that the top of that worked. However, at this point I had not realized about the comparator. So after a couple days, after I finished the top, John Mew came back online and I actually was able to work on the door with him again. However, he saw this flaw right here. So then we went through and we redid the entire top, and we came up with this design here, which in my opinion is way better because it utilizes a lot of this space up here. So we've got a lot of space for the extra moves. This whole purple circuit is the extra moves. And it's very fast as well, as you can see. Very fast. The only thing with this one though is it uses a oxidized copper bulb, which is only in 1.21, and this server that we are building it on is in 1.20.4. But we're able to place it in with commands, but it's just not a very good thing to use at this point in time. Once the server does update to 1.21, it will be very useful because they're very useful in Redstone. Anyway, yesterday when I got on, he had sort of changed it a bit again, and he came out with this design here, which uses this sort of disabling system to make sure that the extra moves doesn't fire the second time after the second quad. And that uses this little thing as well to bud the piston. However, this dust will update it. And this does work, as you can see. You can just disable the bottom. Doesn't need to... Yeah, but this does work. Now, if you notice there, the only problem with this is the side pistons sort of spam out and in a bit. At the end especially, which is not really what we want. But at that point, we were still working on the bottom, so we didn't really see that as a problem. And then yesterday, after when he was offline, I managed to finish off the bottom. So this is now fully working. It uses a lot of stuff from other doors, but I think every 5x5 uses that, or at least every single one I've seen. But it's still a bit different. So yeah. So yeah, this is an old version of the door. So it does work. The whole thing does work. It's just, it has that weird side spam thingy. Just at the end there. It just happens at the end. And we wanted to just quickly go through and fix that. So this version right here is the finalized version, and it has a bit of a tweak thing here with a toggle. So like when this retracts, because this will one ticket, that will retract, meaning that will push down. And then on the extra moves, this will power, but that won't affect it. But then this storage will power again, meaning that will push back. And then that won't power again. So this never gets spammed right here, which is very good. So yeah, yesterday we finished the final version of the door, and here it is. There's the closing. And there's the whole thing. No side spamming. Very nice. So that's just a bit of a background on it. And Now I'm gonna go into the tutorial and show you how to build it. So before I build this, I just want to preface something. This door is actually locational, but it's a very easy fix. So in most locations, this repeater right here can be on 3 ticks. But in some locations, like I believe this one up here, it has to be on 2 ticks. So it's very easy, but if your door breaks during the quad, then just set that to 2 ticks and it should be fine. Anyway, we can start with the layout. So side pistons, very normal, just regular ones like that. And the top, of course, is just a quad with a gap for the storage, like that. And then your storage in the front here with 3 blocks. And then I'm going to do the inputs in white wool because that's just the way I like to do it. So we want this here just for the storage, and then that to power the top layer of pistons. And then you want 3 more lines of dust like this. And then for these 2 inputs right here, you're going to want regular pistons going down like this with the input extended out just for updating. And then the bottom is very normal again. It's just a triple with your pistons like this with 2 storage. And then the inputs for this are very standard. So you just want dust going down like that, which goes into here with a repeater and a dust. So that's to power your top storage. And then to power the bottom one, you want a dust here, which goes down into a repeater, a dust, and then a block here. And then for your storage on the back here, to power this bottom piston, you want a dust here with 2 blocks. And then for the middle one, you want 3 note blocks with dust going into it. And then for the top one, you want a dust here, block it off so it doesn't go down, and then 2 blocks. And those should be all your inputs. So I'm gonna go into the top first, which in my opinion is a bit more interesting than the bottom. So I'm gonna start with the input circuit, and the input block is here. You want a lever and you gotta flick it on. And then get a dust down here with a torch on it. And then get a piston, sticky piston with a redstone block, and then a dust. So that will power some of the side pistons, but not all of them. That will power all of the side pistons. And then the way we get the dual edge is you get a piston like this with a redstone, and then another sticky piston with a redstone block with a dust here. And then you want to get another one on here and put a note block here so it updates. And now, as you can see, dual edge right there. So for the other side, we want to get a sticky piston 1 block away facing down with a redstone block here, and then another one with a redstone block, and then a slab going down with just dust all over these. And that is the whole input circuit. Now for the closing, which I'm going to do in orange, we want a torch up here, which goes into a repeater with a monostable. And I'm going to replace 2 of these dusts with repeaters, and that goes up into this input. And we want a target block here because this piston will push up, which means we can't have anything there. And 2 repeaters like that. And then also you want a note block here so that when this buds that piston, it will update. And that should be the whole closing. So as you can see, does that, and then nothing on the opening. You can just extend that so the side pistons go back. I'm just going to reset the pistons as well. Now for the quad, the way we activate it is very generic. So we want a comparator here coming out of a furnace with a, or any transparent block, but I like using slabs like this. And then you want a 2-tick. And then you just want a sticky piston here. So that's basically just like a monostable, and it will give a 2-tick pulse. And now I'm going to kind of just build the core part of the quad that's really necessary. So you want a comparator here with a furnace. This is so that it won't, clock and stay activated the whole time. And then a 2-tick over here, which goes up into the dust and the slab. So that is a very large majority of the full extension of the quad. And then from there, we get a block here so that it actually activates there with a dust. And then we want to get a hopper dropper like this. And you want a little dropper toggle like there. 3 droppers and a hopper. And the item is in that top right one. Comparator, 2-tick, and to a block. From there, it should do this. So, extension. So that's most of the entire extension done. And then you want a torch going up here, which goes into another one. And this will be on a hopper dropper in a second, so I'm just going to put that there. A 3-tick, which goes into this input. So that will then retract these up to there. However, this is timed very well in that it will also give an extra pulse and do that as well. Which means from here, all we need to do is time a pulse into this input in just the right time so that it will update and retract those. And the way that happens is off of this dropper hopper. So you get an item in there, and then comparator, 2 3-ticks. Now, like I said, this is locational, so we're gonna try it, but if it doesn't work, then just set that to 2 ticks. So we'll try that and see if it works, but if it doesn't, we'll just set that to 2 ticks. And before you power it, you just want to place a trap chest here so that this line doesn't go through and repower this torch chain. So reset that, and then, yep. So that does all that. And now, this line here, up here, needs to be 1-ticked. Now that was pretty difficult to get with the right amount of delay in this space up here, because I didn't want to have to go all the way around here and power it over here, because that would take up a lot of space. But we managed to figure it out here. So you want to block here with a 4-tick, and this will have a cauldron on it. And then you want a comparator. I don't know where one is. Here. Comparator into there. Now, if you'll notice, this doesn't actually give a 1-tick to this line, because if we want to retract that piston up, this needs to be a 1-tick, or else it'll extend it further. So the way we get that, because this is a 4-tick, which means this will turn it into I think it's a 2-tick or a 3-tick. I don't know. But off this line, we get dust into a repeater. Now this will lock it. This will turn the comparator off before this even retracts, which means it'll give a quick 1-tick pulse. So that was pretty smart. Anyway, that should do that. So that'll retract those up. And now, all that needs to be done is to give this line right here another quick double pulse like we did for this one. So off this thing, you get 2 4-ticks, which goes up into a torch, another torch, and this will have dust here because when this turns off for 4-ticks, this will give 2 really quick burnout pulses, meaning if you block that off, this will go up into that input, pulsing it twice. So that should be the whole quad quadruple. So if I power that with a 1-tick, that will extend it into the right after the closing. So when I attract that, it should do the whole thing. Yep. So there is your quadruple done, and then all we have left is to do the extra moves. And where we do that is pretty simple. So off here we get a block. Now this will go into a composter. Now you could use a cauldron and just take out 2 signal strength because we only want 1 thing in there. You could just take out 2 two things with a glass bottle, but I mean, it's just a lot easier to have it with a composter because you don't have to take anything out of it. This actually needs to be out like that. And then you want a comparator, which goes into this with a block. And so that's how we disable this on the second time the quad goes. And you want a piston here with a, I think it's a 4-tick, pretty sure. Yep, 4-tick. I didn't build most of this. Most of this was John Mew. And then you want a target block, which will go into the dust, and then down into your repeater. And then to actually repower the quad, you're going to get a slab, 3 of them specifically, into a repeater, and then a dust, and then another repeater. Now this will go into a block which powers that piston, refiring the quad. Now at this point we don't have that retraction of this thing here. So the way we get that is another thingy here. I think it's 2 4-ticks. Nope. It's a 3-tick and a 2-tick. And then another monostable, which will get disabled by this redstone block on the second quad. And then you want a repeater, which goes into a target block because this will go up here with a slab. Now, I don't know how you're going to get out of here, but yep, just do that. And I think that should be the entire top of the piston door done. So if I put the storage back in, extension, yep. I didn't do it in time, but yeah, the bottom will push those up. Yep, so that should... so that's the entire top done, and now we can move on to the bottom, which is, I think, in my opinion, a lot more simpler. So off your dual edge, you're going to get a dust, which goes down into 2 repeaters, and this will go over into a slab, in which you need a door block so it actually powers that. And then from here, so that'll power this storage. And then we just want to connect these inputs up. So you're going to get a couple blocks down with dust, block this one off. And then another one down with a monostable. And that will go into another repeater powering this second input. And then, so that'll do the entire storage thing. And then so that the storage repowers, we're going to get another repeater, which goes up like this, and then that'll repower. But it won't clock because this will be up on the second time, meaning it won't go through again. Nice. And so the way we connect that to this input is we get a repeater going down into another repeater. Except we want this block to be powered as well, so that when it's up in this position, it is actually powered from here. So you're going to get a dust here. Now this will just go over and power that block. So that should be the whole closing and a large majority of the opening as well. I'm just going to disable the top. Just remove that torch. Yep. So all we need to do is push the blocks upward, and we can see on the opening as well. Yep, retract all those. So then the way we push those up is we get 2 4-ticks, which goes over into a 3-tick. And for some reason, it actually needs a 4-tick here as well, just because I think the timings are a bit wrong and this piston won't extend if you don't have a 4-tick there. And then the other way we get the second the second extension, I mean, is we connect this input and this one. So you're going to get a 4-tick, which is on top of a note block to update something with a sticky piston here, redstone block, and this will go into a comparator. And then just so that this powers again, because we want this to, you know, as soon as that pulls up, it wants to extend again, so it gives a little one tick thing. We put a target block here. And then one more thing, we want this just for later on, so it updates the pistons. And that should do most of the extension, like this. Yeah, the whole extension. And then same thing. Yep. And then the way that we get that extension of these storage so that it can push the blocks up is hopper, dropper and a dropper. Drop it, item in that top one. And then you want to get comparator, and then like, I think it's like 3-4 ticks. Is that 3-4 ticks? Yep. And then a 3 tick, which will go up into a torch. Now that will power the storage. But because when the pistons are up in there, this storage doesn't actually power this piston, because these blocks don't do that. We need a torch here, another one here, and that will go up and here into a dust, and that dust will power right next to there into that block, meaning they will fully extend. And this will also work with this one we placed earlier, and they will both work together. Now the only thing is, how do we stop because this will clock. It will just keep going back and forth. The item will keep going back and forth. And the way we do that is with this. And you actually need dust up here, because this will redirect to the redstone block. And you want another one. And then a furnace in here. Furnace like that. With a comparator. And then a repeater. With a 2 tick coming out of there. And that will just make sure that it'll only happen on the falling edge. Because on the closing, when that extends, it will power this. Meaning that this locks that, and that means it'll never push the storage along, because it's locked the repeater on. However, on the opening, when this powers again, that'll turn off, meaning when the dropper thing goes through, it will go through, pushing them across. Now, one more thing. You just got to place a piston here so that it updates the dropper when this here buds it from there. So now, on the closing, the storage doesn't power. However, on the opening, you can see it pushes across, and we even get an extra retraction there, which is very nice. Now, all we need to do is one tick this line here. As you can see, if we one tick it, it does the entire retraction. And that's a very simple way we get that, which is from here with a torch. And that will go, we want a slab here so it doesn't bud that piston with dust. 2 4 ticks. Piston, and another dust. And I think that is the entire door. So, when I place that torch back, which I'm just going to remove that so it doesn't... No, I'll just remove the block, because if that, I'll power the piston. Okay, so that should be the whole door. Closing. Yep. There you go. So that is how to build the new 5x5 piston door made by me and John Mew. I don't even know who's going to watch this video anyway. That's about it. See ya.